I'm joined today by Major Paul Collis-Smith, the Director of Music for the Band of the Household Cavalry. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Stu. How are you?
Good, thank you. Can you please tell me what first sparked your interest in music and what prompted you to join the Corps of Army Music?
So when I was a youngster, there was a trumpet in a cupboard in my bedroom. I said to my dad, can I learn to play the trumpet? And he said, when you're tall enough to reach it off the top shelf, then I'll let you go and have lessons. But to cut a long story short, I started trumpet lessons. I was addicted the moment I started, so that's what got me into music. And then I played for a band called Royal Dalton Brass Band, which disbanded shortly after I joined the army, actually. But it was one of the bands in those days where you got paid to play. So as a 14, 15-year-old, I was actually getting paid to play in the band and go on tour with those, do lots of really fun stuff. And it was that lifestyle that really got me hooked. I used to have the British Bandsman magazine, and one of the pages one day had a coupon in it that said, would you like to be a professional musician? Fill in this coupon. So I filled it in, and then several weeks later I was at school, in my secondary school, and a teacher pulled me out of class, and in the staff room the bandmaster of the Cheshire Regiment was waiting for me, and I joined there and then. I pretty much signed up, went to the careers office, and that's what got me into the army.
So after 9 years adult service in the Field Army Bands, you then made the bold choice to apply for the Bandmasters course. What was your inspiration?
So in those days, during junior service, you can have the seed planted. And when I was a youngster, when I went to join the army, my dad said to me, you need to get something out of it. So then I started spending the first early years of my career looking into how that was going to be achieved. And mainly it's musical exams like diplomas, showing that you can learn unaided. And then there was also some military courses that you could go on earlier than normal to progress your sort of military education. So I got all those done in the 90s, and then applied to join. So basically it was an ambition that I had from almost the first few days of being in the military, and that's something that I wanted to do, was become a bandmaster, and that was my primary aim back in those days.
The Bandmasters course was notoriously intense and demanding 3 years. How did you manage to juggle that in addition to the demands of your normal life?
Well, 2001 when I started the Bandmasters course, at the time I had 2 children. I've got 3 now, so wife and 2 children, and as I said before, it was 11 years in the making, really. So I had a long time to plan this. It was an ambition that we had as a family. It's not just an ambition you have on your own. The course was designed to be intense, so that you picked up the stresses and the strains of what could be thrown at you the day you left Royal Military School of Music with a 001's badge and go out into a regimental situation where you were not just being seen by your fellow musicians as a leader and a bandmaster, but you were also being seen by the army and the other 2 services as well, somebody with quite a senior rank. So we knew as a family it was going to be a tough 3 years. So, it's a process. Your ambition was so strong. You put that element, the hard work in, as a priority during those 3 years, and that's the deal that I made with my family. I got much more time with my family than I thought I was going to get. So, there's little ideas you can have by saving homework for sort of 2 nights a week and making sure that you always have the Friday night free, maybe a little bit of work over the weekends. But we had a routine. The routine was tried and tested, and I think we were looked after by our seniors very well. We were monitored closely, and actually, I took it as an experience and thought, well, if I can get through the Bandmasters course, I can get through other hard times in the future as well. So I just saw it as a challenge, and my family saw it as a challenge, and that's how I got through it.
So you now have the wonderful privilege of being a Director of Music of the Band of the Household Cavalry, having previously served as the bandmaster of the Band of the Lifeguards. Can you give us an idea what it's like, firstly, playing an instrument on the back of a horse and subsequently conducting on the back of a horse?
Yeah, I mean, it's a common question, this, because when you learn to play a musical instrument, you're taught about posture, the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you project your instrument to an audience. And then when you get on the horse, all of that goes out the window. So, you know, the horse's head bobs up and down, so you can't play straight. If you're a cornet player like myself, it's very dangerous to do that, so you have to play to the side, and a lot of musicians have to do that. If you're a cornet player, you're lucky because you can play with one hand and hold with the other hand, but that isn't good either because it's dangerous for repetitive stress injuries. Clarinet players have to play with two hands, so they have to steer with their feet. Imagine being a tuba player on the back of a horse, because all you're looking is a big brass lump, and you're trusting that you can ride the horse with your feet at the same time, and often at the front of the band as well. So playing an instrument on the horse is dangerous, I think, and it's challenging. But you know, the musicians are specialists. We do a lot of practice at it. We become good at it, and we're trained very, very well. I had not ridden a horse before I joined the Lifeguards as a bandmaster, and I did the training just like everybody else, the long riding school that we have to do. Learned to jump a horse, learned to look after a horse. Didn't learn to play an instrument on it until I'd finished the training, went back to the band again, and that's another element of training that you have to do. But it's difficult. But it's a really a real privilege to be in the Household Cavalry. It was a privilege to be in the Lifeguards in those days. It's a privilege to be in the Household Cavalry now. In terms of conducting on a horse is going to come with its challenges. Within the band, you're within a group of horses playing an instrument. When you're at the front, you don't have to play an instrument, but you're on your own. It's a lonely place out there, and you are at the pinnacle of the parade with the Household Cavalry, leading what is the Sovereign's escort. The Lifeguards and the Blues and Royals are the most famous guards of the monarch in the world, and you're the director of music right at the front of that, and it doesn't get any better than that. So although I've not experienced the Queen's Birthday Parade yet, I can imagine that it's going to be really, really the highlight of my career, and I'm looking forward to it very much.
What do you think are some of the challenges facing the modern military musician, and how does that compare to musicians working in a civilian environment?
If we compare it to a professional musician outside, you know, we're talking at a time where there's a lot of people furloughed in the country, and we can't attract audiences, so musicians haven't got an output. But we weren't furloughed. We were used for other tasks, other military tasks, but we paid a full wage to do that. A lot of musicians have been sent to their home locations to work to protect the force in the eventuality of us being called in to do a role for the military, so they've had a lot of time to practice. We've changed our ways of working. You could say that's a challenge, but actually there's a lot of good things that come out of that. But one thing that's really important is that some of the outputs that we've had as military musicians have still existed. We've performed in locations, we've made several BBC television programmes. We've actually had the permission to do the work in a very, very controlled way. But we're at an advantage because if you were to join the military as a musician, so you have the umbrella and the protection that gives you, but you also have the luxury of being able to play music for a living. And that is the absolute truth, and that's the way that we work, and that's what we've signed up to do. So I don't really see it as a challenge, to be quite honest.
Okay, well, you certainly sold it to me. Paul, thanks very much for joining us today. It's been wonderful to get a very brief insight into what has been a very successful career.
Thank you very much.